Welcome to Get Moving TV. I'm Dr. Chris Landon and I serve as your host. We're going to be talking over the next half hour and again and again about how important it is to recognize what parents are feeling about their own children. As a pediatrician, I've been seeing children for some 30-odd years. I see a lot of very sick children, but I also see well children as well. And what we have to do, we have such a long list of things that we have to talk about. We have to talk about parenting. We have to try to keep people married here in California, where half my families end up in divorce. We have all the stresses of work and overwork and internet, and then we have nutrition and trying to get our kids to eat properly and trying to keep them safe and in helmets. But really learning to listen to a parent and their concerns is really the most important thing we have to do as a pediatrician, as a family practitioner, a nurse practitioner, a physician's assistant, because they're the ones with the children. With funding from First Five, we've been really introducing PEDS, which is a way of listening to the parent about their concerns, about how a child is moving and sitting and talking and interacting with adults. If there's a problem, then we move on to the ages and stages questionnaire, which has more information in it, and based on that, we may need to refer into what we call the regional center. So with me today is Sharon Elmansdorf. She's helping us with a project in terms of implementing all these efforts and really getting across all of Ventura County appropriate listening to parents about their developmental concerns, and also we're going to talk about autism, because that's really kind of the far end goal of catching autism early, because we know we have therapies that work, and the earlier they're instituted, the better they work. So Sharon, welcome to our show, and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you started on this path yourself.
Sure, thank you for having me. I think I have many different roles right now. I would say my primary one at the moment is being a doctoral student researcher at the University of California, Santa Barbara in the Department of Education. My advisor is Dr. Bob Cagle, and our primary interests are in the field of autism. And through this program, I've been able to kind of work on my passion, which is really working with young children, so our 0 to 3 population, kids before they enter kindergarten. And I would say it's been not quite a linear path for me. Coming out of college, I was really interested in working with people in general, so that was my thought. I want to work with people. I really thought I want to do social work, but ended up working at an adult residential facility for adults with developmental disabilities, and then through that, working for our local regional center as a service coordinator in an early intervention program.
Okay, I'm going to stop you for a second. Not everyone's familiar with what the regional center is. They know that certain diagnoses may get them services. With our, again, through First Five, and working with public health, we're trying to screen more, but even more importantly, trying to put children in medical homes so that they can interact, get that information to the regional center, and hear back. So what does the regional center do, and who do they serve?
Yeah, well, it's we're relatively lucky in California because we do have the Department of Developmental Services, which oversees 21 regional centers, which are broken up by geographic area. Locally here in Ventura County, we have Tri-Counties Regional Center, which covers Ventura, Santa Barbara, and San Luis Obispo counties. And basically what the regional center is really charged to do is to provide funding and support and services to children and adults with developmental disabilities. So when we're talking about specifically the kinds of families that are supported would be children and adults who have autism, mental retardation, cerebral palsy, as well as some forms of epilepsy. In addition to that, the Regional Center also oversees the Early Start program, which is actually a federally funded program. So it's somewhat different, but also provides some similar supports. And actually, I was an Early Start service coordinator. So what Early Start does is it provides services to kids 0 to 3 who have either some kind of established risk condition. So that could be children who are born with Down syndrome, or who are showing some significant developmental delay in one of the 5 categories of development. So it has to be high enough that the staff and the team at the regional center feel that they could benefit from services and will kind of ameliorate some of those early symptom areas.
certainly where the boots are on the ground, that's where we find the problems. And I know you've started a program up in Santa Barbara, and we're doing our best to bring it down here, because as you're leading those teams, you go, gosh, what happened at 16 months or 18 months or 24 months that the doctor wasn't listening to the parent?
Absolutely. I was lucky enough actually at UCSB to get involved with a project called First Step, which stands for Screening, Training, and Education Project. And we had, about 5-6 years ago, we got funding through our First Five grant in Santa Barbara to start this project. And partly that was because we were noticing through kids who were coming in for intervention that they were coming in kind of at later ages, so not until they were about 4 and 5. And we knew, being in the field and from all the research that we were doing in autism, that we can identify kids earlier. So this project really is out there to try to support families and try to identify kids as early as possible, to help provide trainings for pediatricians to also increase the awareness about autism and related developmental disorders in our community. But I think the primary part of the project that I'm really proud of is that we were able to provide free developmental screenings to families in Santa Barbara County, and then also provide some short-term family support. So kind of that bridge between parents being concerned and then also bridging that to them accessing services, either through like an early start program if they were under the age of 3, or over the age of 3 accessing services through the local regional center.
The thing we're going to do right now is we're going to talk to a mom and hear about that process from her perspective. And then we're going to bring you back so that we can talk some more. Ventura, we'll be right back. If you have a child under age 3 and you have concerns about your child's development, please contact the Early Start program at Tri-Counties Regional Center. Your child will receive a free developmental evaluation and may be eligible for treatment. Parent education classes about development may also be available to you. Call 1-800-664-3177 and ask for Early Start. Welcome back. With me, I have Lorena, who's a mom, who's going to talk to us a little bit about how her children were diagnosed, the services that she got, and some services that she didn't get, and the effect on her family of all this. So, Lorena, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where were you living when you first had your family?
My son was born in Santa Barbara, my oldest one, and at the time we had someone come over. I believe it was through First Five, a program, and they were following up and see how we were doing, and also how he was developing. At the time.
How old was he about when they came by to visit?
When he was a newborn, and then again, I believe at 3 or 5 months. At the time, there weren't any concerns. We did move, and we moved over to the Ventura County area. And at that time, we lost that service. And he began to show just very difficult behaviors, a lot of tantrums. He would hit himself on the ground with his hands, just very minimal vocabulary, if any, from what I recall. And I mentioned some of these characteristics to our pediatricians, and some of the answers I was getting were that he was a boy, and that, that it was okay, that we would keep following up on it. And so at age 2, again, I mentioned to our pediatrician that I still was not getting any vocabulary. He was not saying mom at age 2. And again, some of the similar characteristics that I continued to see. And so it was a very difficult situation. We were referred to Tri-Counties, and he began to receive services. And he began to receive occupational therapy and then speech therapy. During the process, I would question why, even though now that we started seeing progress, he had more vocabulary, but we would still see a lot of characteristics that I was not familiar with. I would compare him a lot to my niece, and they were the same age, and so the OT once said to me, you know, I think he might later on be diagnosed with autism. At the time, what I recalled of autism was severe cases, and I didn't know that it was a spectrum. And so I don't know if I didn't want to really know that, you know, that he could, or it was just that I didn't have the information.